Hi, my name is Scarlett Lewis, and I'm the founder of the Jessie Lewis Choose Love movement. I am so excited to welcome you to the first of a series of videos that we're going to be showcasing this year on how to bring social emotional learning into the classroom. We're going to be talking with experts in fields related to social emotional learning. Today, I'm very thrilled that we have my very good and dear friend, Kate McKinnon. Kate is a diplomat certified craniosacral therapist through the Upledger Institute and a licensed physical therapist in both California and the United Kingdom. She is a passionate advocate of craniosacral therapy and of the importance of healthy touch. Kate wrote a book called From My Hands and Heart, Achieving Health and Balance with Craniosacral Therapy. You can find more out about Kate at her website, kmckinnon.com, spelled KMACKINNON.com. Kate and I met actually through our mutual friend, Dr. Wayne Dyer. Dr. Dyer is a philosopher, an inspirational speaker. I think that he's an author, and his book sales, I think, are second only to the Bible. So he's very well known, and he thoroughly believed in Jessie's message of nurturing, healing love. When I first met him, he introduced me to his personal craniosacral therapist, Kate McKinnon, and thought that it would be a great idea if we worked together. Kate giving me craniosacral therapy, and which we did, and it really changed my life. I credit Kate a lot with my health, emotional and physical. And so I'm just so thrilled, Kate, that you're here with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scarlett. I'm loving being here with you again.
Yes, definitely. So, Kate, we're going to be talking today about healthy touch in the classroom. I think that there's a lot of fear around touching, unfortunately, because there are just a few bad apples, but it's kind of given touch in the classroom a bad rap and made it more of a fearful thing. I know that that communication is less than 50% verbal. So a lot of it is through gesticulation, and a lot of our communication is also through touch. I think similarly to love, I always say that love is essential. It's a uniting, universal need that we all have. It's as important as food and water. But I also think that touch is as universal a need as love. It's interesting. So when I go into classrooms and I talk with groups of kids, I'll ask them, so can you show me what love feels like? And immediately they turn to the person next to them. Now they may be in an auditorium, so they don't know the person next to them, but whoever it is, they turn to them and they hug them. It's really amazing. And if I ask them what love feels like and they're apart, they're over desks or at round tables or something, they will reach out and touch fingers and try to, reach out to one another. And that really taught me that love is connection. It has a lot to do with touch. So can you talk a little bit about why healthy touch is important?
Yeah, and like you were saying, Scarlett, we're hardwired for it, and as babies, it's as important as being fed. I mean, if we're not touched, then we fail to thrive, and unfortunately, we got to really see the effects of that in some of the orphanages where they were so short-staffed. These babies did not get much touch, and it's been studied also when a baby has been born prematurely. And again, sometimes now they're moving towards really figuring out how to include touch. But in the early days, when they didn't really appreciate how important it was, they were also deprived of touch, and we saw the consequences of that. So, so it really is,
sometimes it was death, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I mean, it really, because we don't, our nervous system is just hardwired for it, so we don't thrive. Yeah, so it's really vital to our well-being and
development. That helps our brain develop normally, and so important. So what does healthy touch look like in a classroom?
So, for the most part, we do know a lot about touch. We accurately interpret it. And, there is a spectrum, just like there is for anything like, say, like food. There's food that's really good and nourishing for us, and there's food that's really quite harmful and it's hard for us to digest. And the same with touch. We have the whole range. So we have touch that can heal us profoundly, and we have touch that can create a lot of trauma and harm. So, it's certainly not being Pollyanna-ish about this. We know that we have both ends of the spectrum, but I think it's really, really important that we talk about how vital and how necessary touch is for our health and well-being. And so healthy touch really looks like we get consent. We always get consent. And that can just be as simple as putting out a hand or having an open body, the arms out wide, ready to receive a hug. So it's very much always on the child's initiation. So we're not talking about overriding somebody, but just really welcoming and being available for supports if that's how they want to, if that's would be good for them. And children know from a really early age, they will reach out and they'll ask and they'll crave it. So this is something that is really quite easy to read. It's not complicated. It's not something that we need to study or spend a lot of time really, training in, because we do already know a lot about it. It's just really recognizing how important it is and looking at healthy ways that it can be brought into the classroom.
So if you have a child or a student that is having a bad day,
mm-hmm.
and you know that maybe instinctively you'd like to give him a hug,
mm-hmm.
or her, and but you have this fear that might be seen as inappropriate. How would you handle that situation?
So you would say, may I touch you, or would holding my hand be helpful? Sometimes, if there's a lot of conversation going on, or, a busy classroom, just simply reaching out and holding out your hand like this, just sort of tipping it to the side so somebody could take your hand if you wanted to. You can even ask what would help you right now and give some options. So I think it's always on the initiation of the child. So I think if you're always allowed for that, and actually you used an important word earlier, that if your instincts tell you, and it's trusting that. I mean, again, this isn't complicated, and we will get those body signals. So if we get the hit, I think this child would do well to have a hug or something, that, just a handhold or a hand on the shoulder would help this child's nervous system to calm down in a way that would be far more efficient and a lot better than words right now. We trust it, and we can check inside and feel for the sensation in our own bodies, that if that feels right. And then we always, can always ask, and we can always offer. So that's how I'd handle it.
So what would healthy touch look like on a daily basis? Say you're an educator,
mm-hmm.
and you've shied away from it.
Mm-hmm.
You agree that touch is important.
Mm-hmm.
You'd like to incorporate it into your classroom. How
mm-hmm.
do you do that in a healthy way
mm-hmm.
every day?
So, if we're looking at a whole different range of ages. So kindergarten is kind of just already in there. Most of us know. Well, I hope so. Anyway, that it's just there, because kids, they don't know not to touch at that age. But we can at that age show them. We can model, may I touch you, and help the kids always ask their friend if they may touch. And then help them, because if they hear a no, they might not be so happy with that, but just sort of say, well, your friend doesn't want to be hugged right now, or touched. So it's always sort of teaching them how to do that, and then showing them what gentle touch is. Maybe showing them on their own body, or they can touch their own body too. So, we need to help them learn how to do that in a respectful way. So at that early age, definitely it's always incorporated. They like to hop in. If you're sitting on the floor, kids will just jump in your lap if that's what they want.
That sounds like the beginning of maybe boundaries for yourself,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and learning how to say no, I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to be touched right now, or
Mm-hmm.
that is not feeling good on my body, I'm not comfortable
Mm-hmm.
with that. And it
Mm-hmm.
seems like the earlier that we teach kids to express how they feel about touch,
Mm-hmm.
to let them know that they can say no, is
Mm-hmm.
an important lesson that we're teaching.
Yeah. And then as they get older, a really nice way that that my children go to a Montessori school, and they every morning. So this is as they get a little bit older, around first through third grade. They, as they go into the classroom, they shake hands with their teacher and say good morning, give some eye contact. You know, all these social skills that we hope our children learn.
Yes.
But there's a lot we can connect with in a handshake. And the teachers were also sharing in middle school. Oh, granted, it's a smaller classroom environment, but she found that as she thought, you know what, I'm going to do handshakes every morning for the kids. And what she realized is she got a lot of information about how the child was doing that day. Maybe there was a handshake that was kind of really firm and like, I need you. Like, I need some attention. There's something going on for me. Or maybe they're feeling a little depleted and, lethargic, and, it's kind of a weak handshake. But nevertheless, there's this connection, there's this welcoming, there's this moment in which you're saying, I see you and you're welcome, and I'm excited to see you today as the teacher, as the educator. So that's a really nice way. I mean, maybe, I don't know, it can be done once a week or whatever, but there's a way in which that can be introduced in a regular way. And the other way is for their younger child, when they're waiting, they want the teacher's attention, and obviously most of the children want the teacher's attention, but they need to wait. You can put a hand on the shoulder of the teacher, just so the teacher knows you're there, they have something to do, and they're waiting their turn. They just place a hand on the shoulder. So there's ways in which you can kind of just bring it in. And then the other nice way that I have learned about through my work as a craniosacral therapist is there's a physical therapist called Susan Cotter who developed something called compassionate touch. And she wrote a book about that. So this is when if there's a child who falls in the playground and gets hurt, so we can go over and say, so one of the little friends can go over and say, may I touch? And put their hands either side of where, say it's a sore knee, and just send in loving thoughts. Just think happy, loving thoughts and hold the knee. And so we're learning how to support. And this is a natural instinct we have. And it's been since ancient times we've used touch. So we're just helping that connection. And what they found when they introduced this into schools is that some of the people who would go out and hurt children, be quite aggressive in their behavior, saw what was happening, and they were able to flip that around. They were, sometimes then they would see somebody get hurt and they would go over and ask if they could help. So they really saw some change, really nice change in behavior, because this is ultimately, we're seeing a lot of aggression and a lot of anxiety that we're not sure how to handle, essentially because our nervous system is getting very overwhelmed. And this is a really, really, really potent way to help our nervous system calm down.
That's a great point, because, schools are different now. It's a different environment than when you and I went to school. I was thinking about this the other day. So not only do we have terrorism, we really didn't have so prevalent when we went to school, but it's a different school environment because we have now at some schools police presence. We have drills. I know we always had some kind of drills growing up in the Midwest. We had tornado drills, but now we have active shooter drills, and lockdowns, and so I travel back and forth across the country on a regular basis, speaking to educators and students and parents, and I almost feel like it's this silent epidemic of fear. Students are aware of it. aware. They're some of them have fear going into the classroom. Educators have fear. Sometimes an educator will say to me with older students, I look at my class and I go, which one is it going to be? You know, that type of fear. And parents, you know, they drop their kids off, and now it's something that they think about. I mean, we've had 203 school-related shootings in the U.S. since Sandy Hook Elementary. So we have about one per week, and we don't always read about them in the paper. But it's this vague awareness that creates a little bit of this unease and anxiety. And so I think that creates this need for positive touch in the classroom, this need to go a little bit beyond ourselves and extend ourselves a little bit more, be aware of the issue, and then also make action steps, because when you make action steps, of course, it decreases the anxiety. So my last question for you, Kate, is based on trauma. Because, we are seeing a lot of traumatized children coming to school that have experienced trauma in a short time. And so these kids, of course, they act out in many different ways. But how can healthy touch help a child that's experienced trauma?
Well, often, you know, when we've experienced severe trauma, we really are at a loss for words. Words aren't easily accessed. They don't seem to do it justice of how a child might be feeling.
That's a great point. I mean, you have a child coming in saying, you know, my parent just overdosed, or one of my parents is in jail, or who knows, my parents are getting a divorce. You know, it's hard. Some of us don't have the vocabulary to say other than I'm sorry. So, how can you express your feelings and then help that person through healthy touch?
So, yeah, I think with trauma, we often don't have, you know, like I was saying, we don't have the words available. And also that idea of presence, like how are we connecting? So, you know, like you were saying before, love is about connection. So there are all these different ways to connect that are important, along with any words that may or may not help. But one of them is just to really have an open body, so we don't have our arms crossed, or like, you know, and we get down to the level of the child, however, you know, they may, you know, just maybe sitting so that we're at an equal height, so that we're not overpowering, because it's so important for anything that can help us feel safe. And again, you know, maybe it's just a hand that they feel okay with, a hand on their arm, or maybe holding the hand. Just something where they have a physical connection as they try and find some words to explain what happened. And I think one of the other things that experiences often when a child is living in a very traumatized, violent home is that they have no idea what a healthy touch is. Maybe all they've experienced is really harsh, violent touch. The harmful touch we were talking about at the beginning. We have the whole spectrum. So it's really, it's an education, right? We're always educating our children. This is another part of their learning, of their repertoire of skills that can help them. And just being able to just gently put your hand on that's in a, you know, just there, just present, just soothing, as a connection. They can feel into that connection. They can take all the time there, what they want, as they settle down. And as the nervous system starts to settle down, we know from all the research on looking at scans in their brain that then we start getting blood supply to these upper level, you know, more rational parts of our brain. And then maybe there's some words, maybe not. I mean, we can all think back to experiences where just simply being with somebody in an unconditional, neutral way with no agenda is so incredibly powerful. And, you know, and that's one of the foundations to cranial sacral therapy. And I think it's foundational in lots and lots of aspects of our lives.
That's beautiful. And I know personally, after Jesse's murder, the best thing that anyone ever said to me was, there are no words. And I appreciated that so much, because they weren't trying to take up space. There are no words to adequately describe that experience. And I loved that. And you're right. The people that were the most, really helped me the most, were the ones that sat next to me, maybe with a leg touching, maybe with a hand on my knee, and in silence, but with the courage to be present with me where I was right then, not trying to shift me, but allowing me to be upset and in the moment. And I think I'm realizing more and more that that takes a tremendous amount of courage. And so I think that understanding healthy touch and not being afraid of touch, but having the intention to incorporate it yourself helps with that courage.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? Thank you so much, Kate. This was so great. And actually, this is a little teaser to a extension program that Kate and I are working on, an extension to the Choose Love Enrichment Program, which is currently being piloted in schools across the U.S. Kate is going to be writing some lessons on healthy touch. So please stay in tune for that. And we just thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Kate, for your wisdom. And I look forward to having you on again.
Yes, thank you. That was a lot of fun.
Yes, and yes, we're having a lot of fun for sure. We always have a lot of fun. And thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, for choosing love.